next topic, we're going to move to something that is inherently polarizing, and it is gentrification. We all know there are a lot of cons that go along with it, depending on who you talk to. Obviously, there's a lot of pros that go along with it. So gentrification. I don't know if we want to center in on one specific neighborhood or just keep it really broad. But hot take on Charlotte gentrification. Go.
Well, I think the biggest problem that the city's starting to realize is that they're gentrifying without making up those necessary housing requirements. I think you're seeing a push lately where the city is putting some money into affordable housing units and complexes. I know there's one on West Boulevard, I think West Boulevard, that's going up, in Freedom Drive. I think just got another one that's complete, and that's steps in the right direction. That's not to say that gentrification is okay. It just needs to be recognized that there needs to be two sides to that coin rather than just one. I think you look at the area down Clanton area, Loso, but that area around Scaly Bark Station is seeing just a ridiculous amount of townhome construction. And to me, that area was less residential in general. There was a lot more like just auto body shops and that kind of stuff. So pushing that out is not necessarily a bad thing. Whereas if you look on the west end, like where Tuskegee West Side is, there's definitely more of it happening there. But I think that is coming along later in the game when there is other options coming online, housing options coming online. So yeah, it is certainly a tricky beast. I think it's just a matter of finding a balance, which I think the city is starting to understand is necessary.
Well, I'm gonna keep you on the hot seat here because I'm a real estate capitalist, very simple human, right? It's very easy for me to see gentrification and even hop on that train. So let's stick with Tuckasegee, Fremore West, that kind of area. You're having this unbelievable renaissance with these old warehouse buildings that were renting for $4 a foot, $5 a foot, and now there's, hip office, um, just a total redevelopment where retail's going for 20, $25 a foot, $30 a foot, is probably pretty possible in the next few years. Hard to understand how that could be a bad thing for the city because
I
of just the
agree.
insane tax basis change that the city's going to get. But along with that, as soon as that happens, the housing around it is going to change. Like there's neighborhoods over there that I've never even heard of that I've got friends moving to, and they're telling me they're spending $300,000-$400,000 for a house over there
Yeah.
in an area that it was pretty intense to walk around in a couple years ago. So how do you keep capitalism from just kind of running rampant over there, and for the natural course of things, like when you have some cool stuff happening, young people with a little bit of money want to be near the cool stuff. What do you do in that scenario that doesn't impede progress? Like how do you handle that?
Well, and that's what I'm saying when you have to strike that balance, because I agree. I don't think growth is ever a bad thing. I think if gentrification is a necessary evil to keep the city of Charlotte prosperous and growing, it's okay. It just, there needs to be the recognition that with the increased tax base and with the increase in revenue coming in from those kind of things, it needs to go back out into social programs and into housing. And so again, I hate to sound like a politician and play both sides, but I am of the mindset of I never see a problem with growth. I never see a problem with taking some rundown area and finding an opportunity in a needle in a haystack and improving an area across the board, especially an area around uptown Charlotte. But there needs to be that recognition of not everyone can afford $2,000 a month for a one bedroom. Um, and that's not to say that you need to have a complex that's completely mixed income across the board, but to have like what we're seeing where that church was uptown, I forgot what it's going to be called, but anyways, a whole complex or a whole building specifically for affordable units is certainly a step in the right direction. And I think the city is starting to do more of that. We're seeing not necessarily projects that have a mixed income in and of itself, but projects dedicated specifically to lower income.
Yeah, I think that. So I'm not a multifamily guy. I'm not even a residential guy. I don't. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. But one thing that I've always heard from my multifamily developer colleagues, friends, is you can't build a used car. It's very hard. Everybody's paying the same amount for lumber. Everybody's paying the same amount for the trades, and it's very hard to go in and offer this, cheap housing. What some people would consider cheap housing, when you're playing by the same rules as everybody else, which leads to your point of, unless the city or the state or the Fed is going to come in and subsidize that, it's hard to understand how, just a general free market
Mhm.
can account for that. I certainly don't have the answers. Don't claim to,
No.
but I certainly don't want it to be a situation like, you know Napa, California, for example, or a lot of like the vacationy kind of ski resort towns where people that are actually working and making sure that you're having a great experience when you're on vacation live an
In
hour and
an
15
hour
minutes away,
away.
and there's no public transit, and it's a low quality of life. Certainly, a great city should be able to figure out both.